Thank you. The following is one of my voiceover demos. If you're a voiceover artist and you would like to advertise one of your demos on my podcast, please send an MP3 to thedrill12, all one word, at gmail.com. That's thedrill12 at gmail.com. Back in a minute.
Americans love scenery. We want to see it all, from one coast to the next, Mount Rushmore down to the Everglades. So hop into a Chevy Malibu and take the scenic route. It's the car you knew America could build. There's a place where people count on friendships they can trace back generations, where they can count on the same stool at the coffee shop waiting for them every morning. This place is called Glen Ellen, and you can find it in every bottle of Glen Ellen wine. This is craft brewed Herman Joseph's, the smoothest, easiest drinking specialty beer in the entire solar system. And I believe you'll find drinkable in the dictionary right after don't order a beer you can't drink. Zoingo! Boingo! The freestyle pogo with more boing, more bounce. Bounce further, bounce higher with Zoingo Boingo. To see what makes Arrowhead Mountain Spring water different from those other waters, you have to go back to the source. And with Arrowhead, that means going back a little farther and longer than most. Between security challenged and security strengthened, there's one important word: how. And it is the how that makes all the difference to our nation and our world. Lockheed Martin. We never forget who we're working for. What makes Kraft Singles so good? 2 out of every 3 kids don't get the recommended amount of calcium. But with Kraft Singles, they get a good source of calcium and the taste they love. Kraft Singles. Magic every single time. Throw boring overboard with a new real meal from Long John Silver's. A meal worthy of a plate, just $4.99. Only at Long John Silver's. We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Introducing the Hyundai 199 Sonata Lease. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
We used to go for older guys, and people would tell me I had daddy issues, and I'd be like, I don't have daddy issues. I love my dad. I just love your dad more. But
Good morning. It's Monday, Talk Radio Monday, September the 9th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer, the patriotic song of the day, and Varney and Company, we will have the patriotic shorts, motivation, Bishop Barron, Ayn Rand, the 33 strategies of war, and Talk Radio's America. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Call for songs of
Thanks. And now, Varney and Company.
Time. Stuart Varney, over to you, sir.
Good morning, Cheryl, and good morning, everyone. This is a target-rich news environment. Here comes the debate, Apple Day, and the Consumer Price Index. But we start with what the optimists are hoping is a bounce. Tough week for stocks last week. Here's how we start today. Plenty of green. Dow up maybe 280, NASDAQ up 147, a 37-point gain for the S&P. Let me show you Apple stock. This is just 4 hours before it unveils the iPhone 16, up a fraction, 8 cents. That's all we got. And this is Google. Its second antitrust trial begins today, up 96 cents at 151. On interest rates, we have something interestingly technical. We have the reverse of the inverse. That is, the yield on the 10-year is now above the yield on the 2-year. It's not been like that for a long time. The 10-year yield is 374, and the 2-year coming in right now about 368, 369. 10-year above the 2-year. Unusual in this particular year. Bitcoin, $55,000 a coin, no bounce there. Oil, well below $70 a barrel, $68. Gas, down to an average for regular of $3.27. What's that? That's gold? Okay, we'll take that. Let's move on to gas. 11 states in the South, regular is under $3 a gallon. Look at it, all concentrated there. 11 states, under $3. Politics. Bernie Sanders lets the cat out of the bag. He says Kamala Harris is moving to the center, only to get elected. Not good. Will the real Kamala Harris please stand up? She took a brief stroll with her husband Sunday. She is doing debate prep again, all day today. Trump has received a bump in the polls. The Times poll shows him up very slightly. 48 Trump, 47 Harris. Harris has lost momentum. On the show today, the Europeans investigate themselves. They are not competitive. They're falling behind. A blue ribbon commission is calling for a new industrial policy. Whoop-de-doo. How about new politics? Drop bureaucratic socialism. Just a thought. And Dave Portnoy will join us. I'll ask the question, should Taylor Swift get involved in politics? I have no idea what he's going to say. It is Monday, September 9th, 2024.
And that was Varney and Company. And you notice again what I was talking about, where there's the blending of news, commentary, and analysis. And in the middle of his little news thing about Europe and what the Europeans are doing, he can't resist slipping in a little comment there. It should be separate. That's what's best for everybody. News, you do news in one segment, and then if you come back from the commercial and do a commentary or analysis. But otherwise, it becomes confusing. We don't know whether you're presenting us news, commentary, analysis, or what? Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, combat.
Vicinity grid has spotted 2 individuals in the middle of Route Duck. Currently we've got a hot spot, looks like a possible hole. As soon as the aircraft came on station, 2 individuals fled the hole and are now trying to avoid the aircraft.
They just went past this area too.
Roger, can you see that grid again? Roger.
I don't know if that data strikers went through here too.
Glass where that was. It looks like about 5 minutes ago some strikers just rolled through this area, and it looks like these guys are trying to employ some IEDs. All right, get eyes back on them. Behind the strikers.
Got eyes on them.
Roger, if you could, keep eyes on them. Roger, got eyes on. You got these guys? Roger, I'm looking at the road right now, and it looks like I think it's one individual laying in the patrol at the road, maybe. I don't believe it is. It looks like a possible IED in placers. Okay, Roger, I got 2 to 3 individuals on this side of the road. We have everything we need for a hostile intent in act. It's just to the west of the road. Roger, we're checking to make sure there's not an A&A checkpoint or anything right now. Good Good copy. We've got eyes on. They're not going anywhere. There's plenty of open terrain, so we'll be on station. Roger that.
Looks like they're like hiding, like laying down in the prone.
All right, so go to the hole.
Yep, got the hole right here.
Okay.
When we came on station, I saw one individual look like he was digging in the hole. As soon as they heard the helicopters, one guy kind of was bent down, running over to this area here, where it looked like another individual was in an overwatch position.
Can you see the strikers? Roger, the strikers have already passed. They probably passed, I'd say, about 20 minutes ago. So with the TTP, waiting for the vehicles to clear. Roger, Track 14.
Yeah, these guys are kind of like crouched down now, hiding in what looks like a little bit of a little hole or water.
Our team just went to EOT, so we're rewinding at this time. Okay, good copy on all. Let me know. Did you guys ever get eyes on these individuals? Searching right now.
All right, one individual just stood up.
We have eyes on. All right, he's sneaking out to the road.
Looks like he's tiptoeing out to the road, sneaking. Now he's down in a hole again.
That's definitely not easy to place the team. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to see what else he does, just to build our case. And then we're going to lead off with Hellfire, follow up with 30 millimeter. Left and right break. I'll call out my gun target line. Hey, Roger. We currently have eyes on 3 individuals. 2 of them saw the hole. One looks like he's facing to the west. One to the east and one in the hole. Okay, Roger. What we're going to do is we're going to wait till he goes back to his buddies, and then we'll try to hit them all. Good copy.
Yeah, it looks like they got an overwatch position. That's where he came from.
Be advised, we're going to engage these individuals. Currently observed one individual. He's back out of the hole right now. Looks like he's placing something heavy in there.
He's running a wire.
We're engaging. Line 15, this is Al. Party send down. That's EOD 01. Enemy fighters in sight. They're all armed, maneuvering on your position. We'll be setting up for an engagement.
And that was a little bit of combat. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, the patriotic short.
Why does this U.S. Navy ship fly a pirate flag? Let me explain. Most U.S. Navy ships must follow the same rules for flying flags. When they are out at sea, they fly the American flag at the highest point on the ship. When they are in port, they fly the Union Jack at the front and the American flag at the back from 8 a.m. till sunset. But the USS Kidd is different. This ship flies the Jolly Roger. It is the only ship allowed to in the Navy. But the reason for this will surprise you. The USS Kidd is named after Rear Admiral Isaac Kidd, who died during the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. Isaac had the same name as Captain Kidd, who was a famous pirate. So to honor his service, the crew of the USS Kidd chose the pirate flag, but they had to get permission from Isaac's widow to do this. The crew even played along with the pirate theme. When the destroyer was first launched in 1943, they rescued pilots from the sea, then returned them to their carriers in exchange for ice cream. The sailors even became known as the Pirates of the Pacific because of how they acted.
While serving as a...
And that was the shorts. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, a little bit of motivation.
Every decision that you make has consequences. Are you making yourself better? Or are you making yourself worse? Are you moving forward or are you moving back? Are you making progress or are you stagnating? Every little decision you make counts. There are no shortcuts. There are no hacks. If you want to take the easy road, I promise you, It's longer and more painful than the hard road.
If you set out and you say you're going to do something, do yourself a favor and don't lie to yourself. Because that is the worst thing that an individual can ever do. You think you lying to your peers. You think you lying to your mother. You think you lying to your teacher. You think you lying to your coach. At the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you lying to you. In 10 years from now, nobody can do anything for you. That's going to be the life that you created, not anybody else. You make your bed, you got to lay it.
Let other people blame their parents, their boss, or the system. Let weaker people complain that the world isn't fair. You are the leader of your life. Choose the hard path. The path of responsibility, hard work, and sacrifice. The path of discipline, humility, and ownership that ultimately leads to freedom. Make discipline part of your daily life, and your daily life will get better.
Any goal that you want to achieve that's worthwhile in your life require all-in effort. Every moment, every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month, every fucking year, for as long as it fucking takes for you to get where you're going, you should be consumed with that path. What you do at night matters. What you do in the morning matters. What you do when your friends are out drinking matters. What you do on Saturday matters. What you do on Sunday matters. The success clock doesn't give a fuck what day it is. It's going to run no matter what. And you guys pretend like you can work 7, 8, 10 hours a day and then spend the rest of your time fucking off, and you think you're going to be somewhere, and you're not. You have to dedicate every fucking breath, every fucking ounce of energy, and every fucking thought and effort that you possibly have in your heart to becoming what it is you want to be. Because nothing great comes from a position of comfort. Everything worthwhile, everything that is great comes from being in a position of uncomfortable. Nothing worthwhile is easy to get. Everything's going to make you uncomfortable. Get fucking used to it. And if you can get used to being uncomfortable, your fucking limits are non-existent.
If for 10 years, if you didn't avoid doing what you knew you needed to do, what would you be like? What would happen if you just stopped wasting the opportunities that are in front of you? You'd be who knows how much more efficient. 10 times more efficient. 20 times more efficient. You have no idea how efficient people get. It's completely off the charts.
I need you to confront you. I need you to confront you because you're the one holding you up. I need you to confront you. I need you to look in the mirror and tell you, you are not going to do me like this no more. You're not going to keep procrastinating. You're not going to keep thinking like that. I need you. You're not. You're not going to continue to sabotage me. You're not. I get frustrated with humans when somebody's late and they upset. I get frustrated with humans when somebody borrows money for you and you don't pay it back and you upset. I get upset with humans when you go out to eat and they don't bring your food out the way you want your food out and you are so upset and you let them have it, but then you disappoint you when you don't let you have it. You give you a pass. You're not where you're supposed to be financially and you gave yourself a pass. You know you better than that. You know you should be further in life, but you keep letting you slide. It's time you punish you. You need to tell you no more TV, no more snacks, no more desserts, no, we working out now. No more alcohol, not right now. No, I can't handle it right now. You need to tell you that you owe you something. Hold you accountable and don't let you off the hook. I want you to challenge you this year to do something you've never done before, to have something you've never had before.
It's learning to discipline this mind. It's a muscle. The mind is a muscle. Emotion is a muscle. I don't negotiate with myself. Well, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I'm going to do this. Or maybe like 2 more minutes till I'm ready. There's none of that shit with me. For decades, I go, I say, we do. I'm not here to discuss this shit with my mind. There's mind, and then there's soul and spirit. And soul and spirit, my soul fucking knows. And when I say jump, you fucking jump. I'm not here to have a discussion with you. But you have to take control and train this brain. If you don't train this brain, it'll use you instead of you using it.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, a little meditation. And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, the Daily Stoic.
You can't always be getting what you want. When children stick their hand down a narrow goodie jar, they can't get their full fist out and start crying. Drop a few treats and you will get it out. Curb your desire. Don't set your heart on so many things and you will get what you need. Epictetus, Discourses 3.9.22. We can have it all is the mantra of our modern lives. Work, family, purpose, success, leisure time. We want all of this at the same time, right now to boot. In Greece, the lecture hall, scholion, was a leisure center where students contemplated the higher things, the good, true, and beautiful, for the purpose of living a better life. It was about prioritization, about questioning the priorities of the outside world. Today, we're too busy getting things, just like kids jamming their hand down a jar of goodies, to do much of this questioning. Don't set your hearts on so many things, says Epictetus. Focus, prioritize, train your mind to ask, do I need this thing? What will happen if I do not get it? Can I make do without it? The answers to these questions will help you relax, help you cut out all the needless things that make you busy, too busy to be balanced or happy.
And that was the Daily Stoic. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, 1 minute with Bishop Robert Barron.
I came of age in the period after Vatican II when we did, for different reasons. And I'm not blaming those who did it, but we kind of softened the operation in many ways. We did rather feminize the language and style. And men, I think, respond to being challenged. They want hard, difficult things to do. They want a sense of mission and purpose. And I think we got pretty bad at doing that. I'll tell you exactly what it was. The instinct, we better be as kind of nice and inviting as we can. Otherwise, they're going to run away. We're going to lose the young people unless we, make it as easy for them as possible. Well, of course, it's this irony that it had the opposite effect. That's, in a way, why they ran away, that we didn't make it hard and challenging. Make it more demanding, and young men will find it more enticing.
And that was Bishop Robert Barron. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, 1 minute of Ayn Rand. Quote, today, the very motive that draws a man to art, the quest for enjoyment, makes him run from it for his life. He runs to the gray, sunless, meaningless drudgery of his daily routine, with nothing to relieve it, nothing to expect or to enjoy. And he soon stops asking the tortured question, is there anything to see tonight? Is there anything to read? Along with art, he gives up his vision of values and forgets that he had ever hoped to find or to achieve them. Unquote. Ayn Rand, Our Cultural Value Deprivation, from the book The Voice of Reason. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the 33 strategies of war, about a little over 2 minutes, about 2.5 minutes.
First, you must understand why passive aggression has become so omnipresent. In the world today, the expression of overt criticism or negative feelings toward others has become increasingly discouraged. People tend to take criticism far too personally. Furthermore, conflict is something to be avoided at all costs. There is a great societal pressure to please and be liked by as many people as possible. Yet it is human nature to have aggressive impulses, negative feelings, and critical thoughts about people. Unable to express these feelings openly, without fear of being disliked, more and more people resort to a kind of constant, just below the surface, passive aggression. Most often their behavior is relatively harmless. Perhaps they are chronically late, or make flattering comments that hide a sarcastic sting, or offer help but never follow through. These common tactics are best ignored. Just let them wash over you as part of the current of modern life, and never take them personally. You have more important battles to fight. There are, however, stronger, more harmful versions of passive aggression, acts of sabotage that do real damage. A colleague is warm to your face, but says things behind your back that cause you problems. You let someone into your life who proceeds to steal something valuable of yours. An employee takes on an important job for you, but does it slowly and badly. These types do harm, but are excellent at avoiding any kind of blame. Their modus operandi is to create enough doubt that they were the ones who did the aggressive act. It is never their fault. Somehow they are innocent bystanders, helpless, the real victims in the whole dynamic. Their denials of responsibility are confusing. You suspect they have done something, but you cannot prove it. Or worse, if they are really skillful, you feel guilty for even thinking them at fault. And if in your frustration you lash out at them, you pay a high price. They will focus attention on your angry, aggressive response, your overreaction, distracting your thoughts from the passive-aggressive maneuvers that got you so irritated in the first place. The guilt you feel is a sign of the power they have over you. Indeed, you can virtually recognize the harmful variety of passive aggression by the strength of emotions it churns up in you. Not superficial annoyance, but confusion, paranoia, insecurity, and anger. To defeat the passive-aggressive warrior, you must first work on yourself. This means being acutely aware of the blame-shifting tactic as it happens.
And that was The 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene. Back in a minute. Thank you. So you may as well, if you're a Democrat, you may as well consider at least voting Republican, because in the state of California, one of the big shots in the Democrat Party, Gloria Molina, just switched parties, went from Democrat to Republican. And what's remarkable about that in the state of California is that the Democrats own this state. They have majorities everywhere. And so for a Democrat, particularly Gloria Molina, who has been in California politics for quite a long time, to switch parties is saying something. So, and also Mr. Alan Dershowitz is leaving the Democrat Party. He announced that today, and he's not becoming a Republican. He's going to become an independent, but still, the Democrat Party is losing a lot of people. So you as a Democrat voter might want to consider voting Republican. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, this is another episode of Law and Order, and there's a little segment here that goes to what I'm talking about with government rights.
Supreme Court held in Winston v. Lee that compulsion of minor surgery to obtain evidence of a crime is not unreasonable.
Well, I would hardly call the procedure minor. Mr. Carter would have a piece of his bone tissue removed, which could destroy his knee all over again.
Winston concerned surgery on a patient who was also a suspect in the crime.
The decision wasn't based on that.
It was based on the level of intrusion, and the court ultimately denied the request because of that.
The court left the door open in those cases where the public interest outweighs the intrusion, and this is one of those cases.
And there we go, where in this case, instead of calling it compelling interest, he calls it public interest. There is no such thing as a public interest. We know that by looking at the Constitution. The Constitution says we have at least 10 civil rights and constitutional, God-given, constitutionally guaranteed rights, so that the rights on the side of the individual, not the state. The state has no rights. And so that's what Mr. McCoy is trying to do with this public interest. Notice that he didn't say, the character McCoy, didn't say that the government has the right to this biopsy, because that's what this is all about, whether or not an individual is supposed to give a bone biopsy. He didn't say that the government has the right to get this biopsy, because that would be shot down immediately. What he did say was public interest outweighing, I believe he said, the needs of the individual. But it's just all smoke and mirrors and code words for that the government's interests outweigh the rights of the individual, and that's hogwash. Rights are absolute. That's what makes rights rights, and not authority. Authority is authorized. Authorizations can be given, authorizations can be taken away. Back in a minute. Thank you. So there's an interview. Who is it that's doing this interview? I guess it's NBC News, of Bernie Sanders about Vice President Harris and her alleged flip-flopping. But more to the point, he talks about Medicare for all.
Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for all. Now she does not. She's previously supported a ban on fracking. Now she does not. These, Senator, are ideas that you have campaigned on. Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election. My own view is slightly different. I think that in America today, there are a lot of people, rural people, working class people, who no longer believe that the United States Congress and government represents their interests, too dominated by big money interests. So I think that there is something wrong, personally, when we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all of our people, despite spending twice as much per capita. That is why I support Medicare for all. She does not. She has another approach toward moving toward universal health care.
There we go. So he says he supports Medicare for all. What is that? Is that universal health care or not? Is that a single payer or not? Okay, and she wants to move towards. Well, why? Why do we have to move towards? Why doesn't she just support, when I'm in office, we're going to have universal health care, period, end of statement. I'm gonna make it happen. I'm a visionary, I'm a possibility thinker, and I'm going to find a way to make it happen in my first 4 years. Right? Why not? Okay, and I'm talking to Democrats primarily now. Why doesn't she do that? Because she really has no intention of giving health care for all. It's the same thing with Bernie Sanders. He doesn't care about it either. He doesn't spend any time, money, or energy trying to get single payer. How much money does this government waste on war, for instance? And Joe Biden is sending how many hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine, and more money to Israel in their war in Gaza. Money that could be spent on single payer. How much money is being wasted at the border? How many people that are dead that could be contributing to our economy to pay taxes that would get us single payer? How much time, energy, and money is the Biden administration wasting that could be spent on single payer health care? See, so and the question is, again, they've had 4 years to come up with single payer, and they did nothing. They had the 4 years to stack the Supreme Court. They did nothing. They had 4 years to do something about climate change. The past couple of months are the hottest on record. The hottest on record, and they've done nothing. Zero. The governor of the state of California did nothing, and the Biden administration did nothing. Nothing. So, and then homelessness. Gavin Newsom, Democrat, governor of California, gave up on it. He says it's intractable. And now he's out demanding cities get the homeless off the streets behind that the Supreme Court ruling that the Constitution doesn't give any guarantee to somebody to be able to sleep on the streets, that what the appeals court came up with was fiction. But then again, we knew that all along because we can read. But the point is that he's now given up on housing the homeless. The whole idea of, well, the housing is too expensive, he's given up on it. Just get rid of them, get them off the street. If they won't get off, put them in jail. They used to say, Gavin Newsom used to say, you can't arrest your way out of the problem. Well, guess what? It's come full circle. He's had 4, 5, 6 years to solve the problem, and now it's come full circle, and now what is he doing? He's arresting his way out of the problem. These people are failures. Do I expect that you as a Democrat are going to go out and vote for Donald Trump? No. But you need to vote for another Democrat. If I were you, I'd be recruiting Bobby Kennedy or Bobby Kennedy Jr. That's I think, the next star of your party. So, but find somebody else. Quit voting for the same people they're lying to you. They tell you, oh, yes, I support this, that, and the other thing. They get into office and they produce nothing. And then they blame somebody else. Gavin Newsom runs the regulatory apparatus of the state of California, but blames the oil companies for the rise in gas prices. Are you serious? Come on. So, you as Democrats, you got to demand more. Got to demand more from your people. Quit voting for the same boobs over and over and over again. Kamala Harris didn't produce in the first 4 years. There's no reason to believe she will produce in the next 4. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Talk Radio's America by Brian Rosenwald. How an industry took over a political party that took over the United States. This is Chapter 18, The Conservative Media Empire, 12 minutes long.
18. The Conservative Media Empire. The proliferation of ideological news sources in the 21st century, primarily cable news and digital outlets, reduced talk radio's direct political influence, simply because it ended talk radio's monopoly on unfiltered access to the Republican base. But these new outlets also increased talk radio's impact indirectly by reinforcing and amplifying its message. The empire that talk radio spawned ensured a far more potent conservative media presence in the late 2000s than during any previous moment in the modern history of the medium. Talk radio and cable news could not help but work in concert, because many of the same personalities populated both arenas. Hannity served as a primetime Fox host from the network's inception in 1996. O'Reilly, Fox's biggest star until he was undone by a sexual harassment scandal in 2017, had a radio show from 2002 to 2009. Glenn Beck, another popular radio talker, hosted a Fox program from 2009 to 2011. Later, Fox would add Ingram to its primetime lineup. Many other local and national radio talkers, including Larson and Gallagher, appeared regularly on Fox, either as guests or guest hosts. Similar connections abounded between talk radio and the digital world. Salem Communications, which owned a network of conservative talk radio stations, purchased conservative opinion sites Town Hall in 2006, Hot Air in 2010, and Red State in 2014. As the internet grew, many conservatives started writing columns for Town Hall, Newsmax, and other sites, which allowed them to cross-promote. In one very early example, Gallagher demonstrated the potential of cross-promotion on his November 10, 2000 program. He mentioned several times that he wrote for Newsmax, a publication at the epicenter of the election recount controversy in Palm Beach, Florida. He then interviewed Newsmax's founder, Christopher Ruddy. In some cases, hosts were compensated for writing columns, but contrary to a belief swirling on the left, radio personalities didn't make big bucks writing online. The major benefit to them was an opportunity to attract listeners to their programs. Blogs also became a proving ground for talk radio, with columnists moving from the screen to the airwaves. In 2011, Eric Erickson, then editor of Red State and a CNN commentator, he'd later become a Fox News contributor, began hosting an Atlanta talk program. His style was shaped by advice from Limbaugh. Your job is to entertain people and be their friend in the car. Ben Shapiro, a syndicated columnist who wrote for Breitbart before launching the multimedia site The Daily Wire, worked a talk radio stint in Los Angeles. Later, in 2018, his podcast entered national radio syndication. By the mid-2010s, many conservative media personalities had multiple avenues for reaching their fans, and much of the information they shared originated with conservative print and digital publications, some of which had financial relationships with radio programs. Like Fox News, digital conservative media adopted talk radio's content model. Sites such as Breitbart, The Daily Caller, and Newsmax were very much online print versions of the AM dial, albeit with video capacity that challenged hosts to adopt more of a multimedia approach. Breitbart launched in 2005 as a content aggregation site and quickly gained a following thanks to the Drudge Report, which linked back to it. Breitbart then burst into wider consciousness in 2009 after posting a deceptively edited undercover sting video purportedly demonstrating illegal activity at Acorn, the community organizing nonprofit. No illegal activity was proven, but Acorn took a major financial and public relations hit. A year later, the site had another moment in the mainstream spotlight when it posted video of a Department of Agriculture official named Shirley Sherrod, apparently declaring that she once gave short shrift to a white farmer. The clip was taken out of context, but it succeeded in stoking widespread outrage and condemnations. Eventually, the misleading edits were revealed, forcing even O'Reilly, who shared the video, to apologize. Still, the story left a mark and raised Breitbart's profile. Both videos were intended to highlight exactly the sort of liberal hypocrisy and scandal that were red meat to talk radio listeners conditioned to believe the worst about the left. And both used deceptive tactics to push false conspiracy theories about individuals and institutions conservatives viewed as enemies. It was a sign of how completely Andrew Breitbart, the site's founder, embraced talk radio's strategy and its values. Indeed, Breitbart credited Limbaugh as an ideological inspiration who opened his eyes to the media's liberal bias and alliance with the Democratic Party. Breitbart, a one-time liberal, claimed he had originally tuned into Limbaugh expecting to hear the personification of everything he hated, and only because his girlfriend's father had challenged him to. But 1 hour turned into 3. One listening session into a week's worth, Breitbart explained. The next thing I knew, I was starting to doubt my pre-programmed self. In addition to embracing talk radio's views, Breitbart grasped the genius of its style. His site offered the very same soap opera heard across the AM dial, with heroes and villains that readers recognized and experienced viscerally. Like the titans of talk, Breitbart focused on stories the mainstream media ignored and delighted in skewering liberal political correctness and timid establishment Republicans. Other sites, such as Red State, were more user-oriented, but equally important to digital conservative media's embrace of the talk radio model. Along with microblogging and social media services such as Twitter and Facebook, User-oriented sites enabled everyday readers to post their own content. This got people talking with each other, and sometimes a story that started with users worked its way up the food chain to a media figure who could push it under the radar of the mainstream press. Talk listeners did the same kind of thing, bringing stories to the attention of hosts who promoted them into the wider consciousness. What mattered most was the story, not its origins. As long as the story had the heat of a talk radio bit, the independent tell-it-like-it-is streak, the scathing mockery of liberal sacred cows, the uncompromising defense of conservative first principles, it could catch fire. Fox News unintentionally demonstrated as much in 2016 and 2017 when it maintained ratings while changing over all but one show in its primetime lineup. A strong personality was critical. Milquetoast hosts flopped. But audiences flocked to talk radio-style content more than specific personalities. So rabid were audiences for this sort of content that digital on-demand video subscription services such as CRTV and Glenn Beck's The Blaze cropped up to serve them in the 2010s. The two merged in 2018 just as Fox News entered this space as well. While the delivery device was different, the programming was not. It remained true to the familiar talk radio model and included radio stars such as Beck and Levin. Even Blaze shows that strayed from politics had a right-wing worldview. The Blaze sports show featured veteran conservative talker Steve Deace and former major leaguer Curt Schilling, an all-star pitcher and Breitbart host known for his incendiary political commentary. As new conservative outlets flourished, older ones such as Fox and long-standing radio programs became the mainstream of conservative media, generating suspicion, just as the political establishment did. Breitbart and its ilk explicitly positioned themselves as the places to turn instead of establishment conservative media. They were harsher, still farther to the right, and more populist. Once again, the effect of increased competition was playing out, forcing media incumbents to greater ideological extremes in order to retain their bona fides. The result was an even more strident conservative media that openly scorned pragmatism, demanded purity, and eviscerated Republican politicians who brooked compromise. For their part, politicians and their aides generally did not dwell on the distinctions between establishment and upstart conservative media, or radio versus digital. They viewed cable news, talk radio, digital outlets, and social media as complements and tried to foster and wield all of them. What mattered was attitude, not medium or stature. So long as an outlet wasn't looking to claim a scalp, Republicans could see it as a part of a fruitful, well-balanced communications strategy. Although there were now many more media organizations to court, technology made it relatively easy to reach them. Thanks to high-quality cell phones, senators could do radio appearances from home, from a car, or even while walking from their offices to the Senate floor. The Senate GOP conference set up servers and video recording software so that staffers could clip a relevant soundbite from an appearance on Fox News and email it to important home state bloggers and radio hosts. One interview could easily reach multiple media sources. To engage new digital outlets, staffers adapted many of the communications strategies they had pioneered with talk radio. For instance, they came up with Bloggers Rows, a direct analog to the radio rows they had begun staging in the 1990s. Alighting the differences between talk radio, cable news, and conservative websites may have upset the new impresarios of right-wing media, who sought instead to emphasize distinctions from crustier, stale competitors. But doing so was understandable from the standpoint of members and their aides. Whatever their divergences, these media formed one network. They were intricately intertwined and provided a largely consistent message. They were all talk radio writ large, driving politics to the right and toward the sensationalism and conspiracy theories on which hosts had thrived for more than 2 decades.
And that was Chapter 18, The Conservative Media Empire, from Talk Radio's America, How an Industry Took Over a Political Party That Took Over the United States, by Brian Rosenwald and read by Christopher Grove. Back in a minute. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you are not neutral and that the government has no rights.